Hello, 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 hello. My name is Elizabeth A. Wilson. I am the spiritual director at and co-founder of Sovereign Masters. And I have a really, really, really special guest with me today, someone who's super close to my heart, pivotal to my enlightenment, and a real, real gift to the world. I'm going to roll on with some introductory credentials. This is going to blow your mind. This is the award-winning acupuncturist, applied clinical nutritionist, herbalist, Doctor of Oriental Medicine, Dr. Cynthia Clark. And she has successfully treated clients with health issues from musculoskeletal, reproductive, psychological, respiratory, digestive, and nervous system disorders. A bunch of training in Chinese and Western medical theory, diagnosis, and practice, and comprehensive knowledge of herbal safety and herb-pharmaceutical interactions. So she's an expert in integrative treatment programs, guys. She is a diplomate of Oriental Medicine through National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I think I said that right. She's originally trained and educated as an industrial engineer, and Dr. Cynthia is now an Ironman triathlete and third-degree black belt in Chinese Shaolin Kung Fu. She's won several awards, including Best Applied Medical Qigong Practitioner, Best Acupuncturist, and Best Qigong Healer. She's a founding member of the Integrative Healthcare Forum, which is a multidisciplinary visionary association. Wow, guys. Wow, this is super impressive. But believe me, behind Cynthia's professional prowess, as you can tell, she's a gentle, good-humored essence of vitality and joy, which has made her a deeply beloved healer in the community and a really popular speaker on all kinds of pressing topics of global relevance. These are really impressive credentials, Cynthia. Really, really impressive. But let me be honest. What has been most oppressed on my heart is the very real impact that you've had on me, my body, my life, my family, and so many of my closest friends and long-standing clients. I'm going to shoot in with my own personal story. I've already blabbered on for ages, but let me tell you, we first met back in, I think it was 2014 or 15, when we were both speaking on our topic of expertise at a mind, body, spirit fair. And I came up to you afterwards and you were doing muscle testing demonstration. And it lickety-split, you muscle tested so accurately for what was going on in my life that I had to book a session with you. And I came in the next week and told you all about these debilitating sinus allergies that I was going through. You put me through your process. It was a detoxification process of the body. It really, really helped. But then later the allergies came back and I went back to you and I said, Doc, what's going on? Why? I thought we had cleaned the stuff. And that's when you introduced me to energy evolution, which is your system and method for altering, alchemizing, transforming energy in a very real and very precise way. And you put me through that process, discovering that the allergies were attached to a cellular coding that related to inherited information about what it is to be mother, right? I know many of my clients can identify with this. They understand what I'm saying when I say that it wasn't mine. It was something that had been passed down, something that was operating subconsciously. And with your process, we turned that around and those allergies went away and never came back. So that was me, right? I was convinced. I was like, this doctor's legit. She knows what she's talking about. And so I sent my family, I sent my friends, and I began bringing my clients to you as well. And what I saw was that the clients that are working with me, they're working in consciousness, they're working on ascension, they're working on enlightenment. When they go through an energy evolution process with you, or even if it's just an initial report of findings or initial consultation with you for nutritional information and your beautiful process of muscle testing for right nutrition and right supplements. When my clients go through a process with you, the results are enhanced, the process is accelerated, and we see amazing transformation happening really, really quickly. And embedded in that is my deep gratitude to you for having made that real in my life. So this is real. This is reality, and that's nothing more humbling than that. So anyway, that's me. I've talked for ages and ages and ages. I want to turn it over to you, Cynthia. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to sum all that up and say, in the end, what it came down to for me and for my clients was the big difference is having a doctor who understands the link between my cellular consciousness, my energy field, and the manifest experience that I'm having in my body. That has made all the difference in terms of medical support. So anyway, enough from me. I'm going to turn it over to you. What is it about that link between mind and body? What is your understanding about that as an expert in Chinese medicine?
So there were, Elizabeth, it's always just such a pleasure to be with you. And I know we've talked about this before, but one of the reasons that you were able to have such a quick transformative experience is because of your own program, because of your development of spiritual progression and being very far along that path, so that you needed only this much intervention and then your energy could go, yes, that's where I want to be. That's how I want to resonate. Let's do this. Whereas most of us have a lot more sabotage kicking around in ourselves, and we try to set ourselves up for, okay, I'm allowed to be this much improved, but I'm not sure if I'm really ready past that. So that's the secret. Of course, you are the secret to why you've been so successful, and it's also the reason why your clients get to be so successful, is because they are doing that same work. They're changing their energetic frequencies. Recently, I had a client come to see me, and this is one that we've shared together. Shortly after talking with you, she started reading Power versus Force, which of course was sitting on my bookshelf, and I loaned it to her. And the process that she went through of being able to wrap her mind around the energetic changes was transformative for her, and it allowed her to tap into a much, much faster healing frequency. And that happens just because once we start understanding the principles of, for example, we all look solid and we all walk around on these solid kind of three-dimensional things. But the truth of the matter is that if we broke apart our atoms and we looked at them, and all of our cells are made of atoms, if we looked at them at the atomic level, then we would find that there's actually, within the atom, it's very, very little matter. It's mostly tiny little particles that are moving around, spinning around like crazy. Kind of like, you can think of this a little bit if you look at a propeller spinning, first you can see it very clearly, and then it starts moving, and eventually it like disappears. And it seems like, oh, you could just walk right through that. But of course, if you tried, you would wind up like a little cartoon, smattered all over the place. So once we understand, there's actually, even though it looks like there's nothing there, there's actually quite a bit of energy frequency that's happening right then. And it's a different, we see it differently, and we understand the power of that differently. In fact, with the propeller, if it's attached to an airplane, then the power of that is so substantive that it allows that airplane to lift into the air and to literally change elevation state.
Yes.
Because of that power. So kudos to you and your excellent program for the very cool transformations that I get to see. You make me look like a great doctor, and I am a great doctor. I love being a great doctor. You make it all even easier.
Yes.
So how can I help today? There's some conversations that you and I like to have. We've been talking recently about the parasites and how those can affect us. Do you think your people would like to hear about this?
I think my people would love to hear what you've got to say about this, because this has blown my mind and it has changed my life. And and that my people are all about epic stories. So let's hear it.
So first of all, I'll just apologize in advance. I know thinking about parasites can be a little bit gross. I know, but we're going to go back in time. Let's start back in time, and I'll just say this first, because I think this is one of the coolest things, which is that I got really curious about this, in the story of Esther in the Bible, and they talk about these purification oils that were used on Esther. She had to do 6 months of anointment with myrrh and some other oils. And there's this commonality of oils being used for purification in the Bible. And I don't know about you, but I always kind of thought that that was like esoteric, like spiritual, you know, like a sacred ritual thing. And certainly all of that is really true. But guess what? It turns out that if you're like Esther and you grew up a bit on the wrong side of the tracks, you might have some little critters in you, and those affect a person in a way that is really deleterious. Well, I'll come back to that. It turns out that myrrh is antiparasitic, and in fact, all of the spiritual cleansing herbs are actually, you know, purification, are actually antimicrobial, antiviral, antiparasitics. So it's not just in the energy body, it's also in our physical body. We have to make the changes physically in order to achieve the changes that we're looking for energetically. So let's talk about parasites a little bit. And this is one of my favorite stories. It's from the book, Your Brain on Parasites. There's another really good book on parasites called Parasites Rex. But I'll say that the cover is a little off-putting because it's got this like really scary parasite. But in Your Brain on Parasites, tells the story of a particular, of an ant that has a particular unusual behavior when infected by a parasite. So what this little ant does is he hangs out with his little antly friends during the day and does his little antly things, but at night, instead of following the column back to the anthill and taking a good rest, instead, this little guy will walk up to the tallest blade of grass and he'll stay there all night long. And the next morning, he'll rejoin his little ant column, and the next night repeat the process. And it seems very tiring behavior. It seems very unusual behavior. He will stay there until he gets eaten by a sheep. And the reason for that is because this little guy is infected with a particular parasite that concludes its life cycle, which means it reproduces in the gallbladder of the sheep. And the only way that it can get there is if the ant sacrifices itself. So worthy to take this as a note that in a tiny little organism, that the parasites can control its full behavior, where it goes to sleep at night, what it chooses to do in its spare time, even though it's terribly, terribly, terribly dangerous. There's another parasite that infects the eye of a fish. This one was popular. There was a little Facebook video about this going around a while back. So a lot of people might know this one. It affects the eye of the fish so that when it encounters a shadow, it tends not to move. And what this means is that when the fish is swimming along in the water and a bird flies over, instead of diving down to evade the bird, it will stay right here so that the bird can easily catch it and have dinner. And it's the same thing, that the parasite that infects this fish concludes its life cycle in the digestive tract of the bird. Okay, so if parasites can have that much control over smaller organisms, is it any real reach to theorize that possibly they might have these kinds of effects on us? In fact, they can easily affect our food choices. So certain organisms will make us strongly crave sugar, for example. And sugar affects our immune system, it affects our cognitive abilities, and ultimately it slows down our thinking. And this is really important concept because we're not just talking about, oh, I was a bit bad, I had a Mars bar. We're talking about this can affect one's moral path. If I think very, very slowly and cloudily, not taking right action at the right time can result in my being very far off of a moral path. Not because I'm a bad person and not because I'm not trying, but because I've got little critters inside of me that are telling me to eat the Mars bars 14 times a day. And then at the end of it all, I'm quite dumb and I don't feel like moving. And so I just sit on the couch while I watch the child get murdered outside. I mean, it's a horrible example, but there's truth to this. and obviously I'm really exaggerating this because those moral decisions can happen in tiny little bites. So so purification happens both in the spiritual realm, and it also absolutely has to happen in the physical realm.
Yeah, that's incredibly mind-blowing to think of that. And the analogy that you've used before is that there are other voters voting for
Right.
for which direction you go, for how you make your move. And we're not always consciously aware of the microdome or the biome that we're sharing with the bacteria, with the parasites, with various other pathogens and other alive creatures that represent a field of consciousness, both individually and collective. And we tend on our journey of ascension, we tend to take it very personally, right? Because it's about me, it's my journey, it's my life, it's me who's doing this, which means that when we notice ourselves stray or off the path in some way, we can tend to get bogged down then in shadow work. Why am I making this decision? Why haven't I gotten over this sugar addiction yet? What is it going on? Is this about my uncle? Is it about the thing that happened in third grade? And then we focus all our attention on these areas, and what we know is that energy goes where our attention goes. So that's what we're magnifying in our experience then. And sometimes it really is just a simple fix. Sometimes it really is just a case of use the right energy techniques to clear those particular energy fields that are maybe draining me in some way. Someone else's stuff I picked up at the supermarket, for example. It doesn't have to be my shame that I'm feeling. It could be someone else's, right? Clear these things away using simple energy techniques. Why aren't I getting over this addiction? Why can't I get over this sugar craving that I have? Perhaps I don't need to dig around in my past. Perhaps I just need to detox these parasites out of my system. And so there's this beautiful passage from the Bible. Oh, I love this bit. It's Mark 2:22, and it goes like this: no one pours. This is Jesus's words, right? So this is Jesus speaking, and he's speaking to people about renewal, about resurrection. That's his thing, right? His whole thing was about turn it around. Let's get going. Let's be the change, right? And he says to them, no one pours new wine into old wineskins, because if you do, the wine will burst the skins, and then both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. Instead, pour the new wine into new wineskins. I love this so much because we are all about renewal. We're all about the renewal of mind. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Change your mind to change your life. But what use is it to change your mind if you're going to pour it back into this old wineskin that is exhausted, is depleted, is full of all kinds of parasites voting for me to have more donuts for lunch? But Cynthia, when you and I work together, there's a renewal of the mind, there's a renewal of the energy, and there is a renewal of the body. And it's happening in cohesion with each other. So we really do get this sense of renewal, the sense of turning things around. And what's more, the work that you do alleviates the symptoms of old manifest stuff. So for example, one thing that my clients report is if they've gone around and they've been devouring, right, whether it's food or whether it's other people's energy or whether it's negative thoughts, they've been devouring and they've been gaining weight. It may be physical weight or it may be energetic weight, but they're holding some shit, right, that they don't want to have. They're holding this shit. Working with you helps to alleviate the symptoms of that shit. It helps to alleviate the feelings of, like you said, confusion, cloudiness, heaviness, density, so that the focus doesn't keep going on the manifest symptoms while you're doing the renewal. We know that I am not shame, right? We get that. We understand that we are not necessarily personally attached to these things. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm carrying it around with me in my old wineskins. If I'm wanting to renew my wine, then I'm going to ask the best doctor that I can find to help me renew my wineskins. That's just how.
I want to speak to that for a moment, because there's a whole lot of things, like today we've talked about parasites, but there are so many things that can emerge in our blind spots that 99% of people have no knowledge of. So when we do the full assessment, we're looking at all of their toxic load. We're looking at all of their systems functioning, their organs functioning, because if your brain is kaput due to a mold exposure, then you can do all of the best meditation studies in the world, but you're still going to wind up with your brain is kaput because you're sitting next to black mold in your house, right? So necessary to get it both out of the house and out of the body. And I just want to say it's okay to have blind spots. I have had them many times in my life, in my practice, and I now look forward to them, because then when I learn the next thing, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that it could be this good.
Yes.
I didn't know I could feel this good. I kind of gave up on it, back when somebody told me that, oh, when I was 30, then that's it. You're, whatever aches and pains you feel, that's just a result of being old. And it's like,
yeah,
don't think that's true. So it's okay to have blind spots, and we help assist through the energetic measuring, which happens through the process of quantum entanglement, which is the interconnection of all particles. And I know this is part of your teaching, so I know your students are comfortable and familiar with this concept of once two particles have been in connection with each other, then they always are. And so we can lean on those connections with a 97% accuracy or more in order to find out what the root causes are. And that's why we see the transformational changes that we do on a daily basis. I diagnose people with, I don't like the word disease because it sounds like a sentence, it's like a problem that many other practitioners have missed because they didn't use this level of fine tuning. So it's really important, we've got this great power, and then also it's really important that we use it in a very detailed way in order to get very accurate information. So,
yes.
Okay.
That is,
Thank you.
wow. And let me point to that for a moment, because this applied kinesiology in the way that you use it, and again, most of my clients are familiar with muscle testing. They have a great understanding of how possible it is to commune with a collective awareness. But the way that you use it is so precise that you can sit with someone for 30 minutes anywhere in the world. They can be anywhere in the world. And you're able to use this methodology, this tried and tested, ancient, and yet affirmed in modern science, this methodology for testing the calibration of what's going on in every body system, in every organ. You can understand what nutrition is supporting them and what's depleting them. You can understand the methods that they're using, how aligned they are with the solution that they need. And you're able to give a really detailed and really true vision to someone about what's really going on in their body, in their system. That's incredible, isn't it? Because normally we go to a doctor and they ask us 4 or 5 questions, they put it in the machine, and it churns out a diagnosis. I've been through this process with my mother and with clients where they have gone from doctor to doctor to doctor, who never listened, who already thought they knew. And so they just printed off the thing that said, here's what's going on with you, and prescribed them the wrong medication. And I know that this isn't an unusual case study, right? This is something that many people can identify with. And that's because they're going to doctors who are amazing healers, great people, good hearts, but they're using a system. They're using a system to tell them what they need to know, rather than tuning in the moment to the one who stands before them. And that's something that you bring with such grace and such humility. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
One point about that is the doctor can do it, and so can the client. Like one of the biggest risks as a healthcare practitioner is I can go to another healer and say, okay, this and this and this is what's wrong with me. And torn them on a path. I listen to all of those things, and I also listen to the energetic information. Sometimes they're quite different. For example, I had a mom recently come to visit me with a little one, a 7-year-old, who she firmly believed that the problem was sugar addiction. And when I did the full assessment, the problem was Lyme causing sugar cravings. And so with the appropriate treatment, it's actually very turnaroundable. It's not destiny at all, but we have to have the accurate diagnosis. So I apologize that I have to run. Thank you so much for getting up so early to be with me this morning. And thank you. And all my love to all of your beautiful clients, Elizabeth. It's such an honor to work with you.
It's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I can't wait to keep working with you and hearing more of the happy stories from our clients as they experience the results of your method and the purification that they get in the body, energy, and mind. You're a superstar, Cynthia. Thank you for being in my life. You're amazing. Speak soon.
Bye.